Hello again, everybody. This is Dr. Jacob Lilly here, and today we have an exciting new topic that we're going to be discussing in the realm of nutrition. On today's video, we're going to be talking about reverse dieting and its specific use cases and how it may be beneficial for you with your weight loss journey, with helping with any type of issues in terms of yo-yo dieting. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is reverse dieting? It is essentially a dieting strategy that employs increasing the amount of calories very slowly that we're eating on a week-to-week basis until we're at a maintenance level amount of calories. Now, to break this down, this makes a little bit more sense in the context of weight loss or dieting for any type of weight loss or fat loss and reversing those effects that kind of come and accumulate with that weight loss or fat loss dietary strategy. The way I like to explain things is to give examples, real life examples, as to how this can be applied into your life to help understand these concepts. We've talked a lot on this channel in terms of weight loss, in terms of fat loss, and a lot of that comes down to being in a caloric restricted state. So in other words, restricting our calories so we are burning off more calories than what we are intaking or consuming. That's going to help fuel our weight loss and our fat loss, and so on and so forth. Now, reverse dieting is this approach where if we're too far restricted in a caloric restricted state, this actually might be somewhat damaging in the sense if we're in a restricted state for an extended period of time, such as for many months, it might start to play a role with our hormone health, might start to alter cortisol levels a little bit, satiety levels, and ultimately it's not the greatest thing to do for an extended period of time. Now, however, there's a little caveat to that, as there usually is with the realm of science, nutrition, exercise science, and things like that. A great example of this would be a bodybuilder or competitive bodybuilders, right? They often go through these periods of bulking up where they're consuming an excess amount of calories, hoping to put on a lot of muscle mass, but the sort of side consequence to that is that they gain a little bit of body fat on top of that, because they're eating more than what they're able or capable to burn off in that day-to-day cycle. As they start to kind of continue through that, they start to get a little bit more serious with their cutting phases. As they're nearing their competition, they want to shed as much body fat as they can, getting into the often very restricted states, that very highly unsustainable state of, 2-3% body fat. Their veins are popping out, very, very lean, but they do not have a lot of body fat on them. This dietary strategy is a perfect way to help them recover after they finish their competition. Because one of the things when you're on a very severely restricted diet where you're restricting a ton of calories, that might impact, again, your hormone levels and really start to mess some things up. Now, in order to get back to a normal, healthy eating pattern, especially for these bodybuilders, they need to be very calculated and have a very surgical approach in terms of how they effectively eat a little bit more here and there to kind of get back to that baseline level and kind of ramp up that metabolism that might have been just brutally worked on through that entire cut and through that caloric deficit. If this sounds like someone similar to you, where another example would be if you're someone who's gone through a caloric restricted phase, let's say for about 6 months, and your metabolism starts to slow down and you're not able to eat as much, and the only way that you've been told or you've heard to maintain that fat loss and weight loss is to continue to be in that caloric restrictive state, this might be an opportunity to help continue the progress of losing weight, losing fat, but in a way that isn't so restrictive. And we're gonna dive into exactly how that works. To dive into exactly what reverse dieting is. In the concept, it's essentially reversing the diet that you had. So again, this primarily is for people who are in a caloric restrictive state. Now, when you reverse that caloric restrictive state, you're essentially eating more or kind of edging towards that surplus of calories. And the reason that we do this is that we want to establish a normal metabolic state with our body. like I said, when we're in a caloric restrictive state, our metabolism, our hormones, and things like that may start to alter and may start to kind of come down. This reverse dieting approach helps to kind of bolster that back up so that maybe we can go into another caloric restrictive state in the future. Effectively, what you're doing is every week you're adding about 50 to 100 to maybe 150 calories of additional calories that you're intaking per week until we can get to a maintenance type of metabolic state. Now remember, just to reiterate from past videos, there's 3 metabolic states that we're constantly in, and we're kind of yo-yoing in between this. We're either in a calorie maintenance phase, so let's say throughout our entire day we're burning about 2,000 calories. If you eat 2,000 calories, you will maintain your weight without any other factors that are to be considered, like exercise and things like that. But that's the gist of it. If you're not at that maintenance state, you're either overeating and therefore you're in a calorie surplus where you will start to eventually gain weight, maybe gain some muscle, maybe gain some body fat, things like that. Or lastly, you're going to be in that caloric deficit where you're eating less than what you're burning off, and we've talked plenty of that. In this reverse dieting approach, we're going to start in this calorically restrictive state. So we're going to reverse that to get to our maintenance calorie state. Okay, so not a surplus, but a maintenance. Okay, so again, we'll take that same example of, let's say you're eating 2,000 calories and that's what you do to maintain your weight, but then you all of a sudden go in this calorie restrictive state where you're 500 calories less than what you're burning that day, so that would put you at about 1,500 calories a day. Let's say over the course of a few months you start to slowly drop that, and now you're only eating like 1,200 calories a day, but you're fatigued all the time. You find yourself that you're overtraining, you're not getting great sleep, your stress is all out of whack, you're a little bit more moody, a little bit more bipolar and things like that. That would be a perfect opportunity to start this reverse dieting approach where we start slowly adding calories back into our diet at a very slow, sustainable way, so we don't adding a bunch of excess calories, which is ultimately going to derail our progress. Okay, so you got to be very strategic with this. Okay, if you're that person that now that you started at eating 1,500 or 1,600 calories a day, and now 6 months later you're down to 1,100 or 1,200 calories a day, you might actually need to reverse diet and eat more calories to have a better metabolism, to help balance out those hormones, but then also kind of take the stress and the pressure off of you in this weight loss journey. Now, it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but this has actually been shown to be very healthy for your metabolism. So then when it is at a better baseline, you're able to kind of go back into that calorically restrictive state and continue that weight loss or that fat loss journey. With this, you just want to remember, this is just a tool in our tool bag that we can use and kind of bring out in special needs that will help with our weight loss journey. You also got to understand too, when it comes to any sort of fat loss journey, weight loss journey, where you're in a calorically restrictive state, a lot of people tend to feel that they're very restricted in terms of things that they're able to eat, in terms of what they're able to enjoy. And ultimately what that does is that lowers the adherence levels to the plan, right? This is where so many people start to fail with losing weight or losing body fat, is because they are not consistent with it. Right? Consistency doesn't necessarily mean being able to do something for an entire month. Yes, that is one form of consistency, but a lot of the times you need to be doing these things for years, maybe even up to 1 full year, right? That is the type of long-term consistency that we need. And if you're not adherent to a specific plan that your coach or someone that's kind of doing the nutrition for you, maybe you're just working with your trainer, you need to have these strategies in place to help you adhere to this plan, right? This is not something that needs to happen over 2 or 3 months. This most likely is something that we need to change daily habits to change our life for years on out. Now, we talked a little bit about what exactly reverse dieting is, how we can use it as a tool to help get back to our metabolic baseline and kind of raise up that metabolism, not feel too restrictive, which will help with adherence levels to our dietary plan. Now we need to kind of get into the weeds and into the details of exactly how we're going to be able to do that, okay? Now, depending on how calorie restrictive you are, okay, this is where it matters in terms of how many calories we're gonna need to eat more of and slowly over time increase that. Again, dependent on how many calories you're eating or how much you're eating currently, okay? So let's take that example. If you're that 2,000 calorie a day, you know, that's your maintenance calories where you won't either gain weight or lose weight, and now you've been in a restrictive state, and let's say somehow you ended up at only eating 1,200 calories. If you're only eating 1,200 calories and you're therefore 800 calories away from our baseline, an average amount that you want to be eating per week is about 100 calories, okay? So now let's work together and say for the next week, instead of eating 1,200 calories, we're gonna start to aim for 1,300 calories, okay? Now you do that for that entire week, you're able to eat a little bit more, you're maybe able to enjoy a little bit different variety of foods, maybe kind of splurge out just a little bit. We complete that week at 1,300 calories, boom, no problem. Now, the following week, you want to increase that again, maybe another 100 calories, right? So now we're going to be at 1,400 calories instead of our original 1,200 calories, okay? And you kind of just take that step-by-step approach of an average of about 100 calories. And if you do the math, if you're 800 calories in a deficit overall, and let's say 2,000 calories is that baseline where you're metabolically healthy, you're not gaining weight or losing weight, you will probably be doing this reverse dieting for about 8 weeks, okay, if that's your specific example. Now, again, it's a little bit different for everybody, so you just kind of got to know what your baselines are. Now, if you do not know your baseline, so if you're like, ooh, I don't know if 2,000 calories is enough, or if that's too much, or if it's too little, a way that you can do it is go a little bit slower. So instead of doing 100 calories a week that you're reverse dieting and adding onto your diet, you're only doing 50, okay? And you want to take small increments like this. You don't want to do big jumps, okay? So let's say you start doing 50 calories and you start adding 50 calories each week. If you don't know what your baseline numbers are, what you want to do is take into account your weight and potentially, if you have access to it, your body composition, right? If you're starting to gain body fat and gain weight, that might indicate that we're maybe a little too high, or maybe we're doing it just right. And there's a slight difference, okay? You got to understand that if you're starting to increase calories, you might start adding a little bit of weight. You might start adding a little bit of body fat, okay? But that's okay, okay? That's why we start with very low amounts of calories, like 50 calories, 75 calories a week, and we slowly inch up until we get to our baseline. Now, again, if you don't know your baseline, you're gonna continue doing this week by week by week by week until we get to a point where we're consistent with our weight. So let's say you're at 1,200 calories, you added 50 calories each week, and 8 weeks later, that's 300 more calories or so, or 400 more calories or so that you added over the course of 8 weeks, and now 1,200 calories plus 400, you're at 1,600 calories, and then you find out that, ooh, okay, this week I've maintained my weight, I haven't gained, I haven't lost, maybe a couple pounds here and there for some water weight loss, but overall, on average, it stayed about the same. Now, let's say you start adding more past that and you start to consistently see your weight go up, then we know, okay, we might have gone a little bit too far and we might need to kind of scale back down a little bit, okay? That's the most effective way to do it if you don't know and if you don't have access to a body composition scanner. Now, I have a body composition scanner at my office that helps estimate what our basal metabolic rate is, which again is about 80 to 85% of our total metabolism, okay? So based off that body composition scan, we'll actually be able to see if we have any increases in muscle mass, any increases in body fat, and also if we have any changes in our basal metabolic rate, which is going to point towards a specific calorie goal that we should be getting to. So again, if you're someone who comes to me and has a body composition scan, I'll be able to explain that to you and kind of show you what our target goal is. So if you do want to reverse diet out of this calorie deficit, we'll be able to do it very effectively and get to a precise number that you can get to this maintenance schedule. And once you get to this maintenance schedule, that's when we decide, do we want to go back into a calorie restrictive state, work on that diet plan, or maybe go into a bulking phase? It's really up to you at that point, okay? But in a nutshell, that is what reverse dieting is. It's slowly increasing calories until we get back to a maintenance schedule or a maintenance metabolic state where we're not gaining or losing weight. And from there, you're able to effectively ramp up your metabolism, help with all your hormone levels without the risk of yo-yo dieting, where you get off a diet and you just gain back all the weight that you just lost, okay? If you guys have any questions on this, please leave a comment below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you again for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. See you later.